Entertainment Critic and welcome to my review of Doctor Who Series 11 or Season 11, wherever you live in the world, Series or Season 11, Episode 1, The Woman Who Fell to Earth. So, I have had a lot of excitement actually going into this episode. I've been waiting for it to come out for a long time. I will get into this, my thoughts on the episode, so if I liked it, I disliked it. I don't think there's going to be many cons in this video, honestly. Judging from my opinion, you'll see why. I'll go over obviously with the pros of the episode, what I'm excited for to come in the series. There were a lot of guest stars I'm actually excited to see coming in the series as well. I'll get into that slightly, and my overall thoughts of the new Doctor, the new companions, the story of the episode, stuff like that. So, getting straight into that, I'll start with the Doctor because that is what we've all been waiting for. We've all been waiting for Jodie Whittaker's appearance as the Doctor. The first, obviously, we had her in Twice Upon a Time. She was like in it for like 10 seconds. She said, "Oh, brilliant," and then she fell out of the TARDIS, and that was it. When obviously that picks up near enough right after when she enters. That was near enough right after where we left off in Twice Upon a Time, but we don't start off with her right away. A lot of the regeneration stories we've had in the past actually started off with the Doctor. So obviously we had the 11th hour with Matt Smith, and that started off with him in the crashing TARDIS falling over, and he falls into Amy's garden. But this actually starts off with one of the new companions or friends, as they're calling them now. I honestly like the idea of them calling them friends because it gives them more of an approachable feeling to them. But anyway, we start off with one of the new friends, Ryan, in this series. Ryan Sinclair, I believe his name was. And he's actually a YouTuber, which is really ironic. But he's a vlogger and he's talking about his life and things he's talked about before, obviously. And it gives it. I feel this scene gives Ryan a relatability factor for him. Like, we understand where he's coming from, and then further going on with his character, we actually find out that he's not a perfect character, which is what I like to have in a companion. Obviously, we had Clara Oswald. She became pretty much not perfect companion. She was too perfect. You know, she became God essentially because she was brought back. It's confusing. I won't get into that because that's really confusing in the show's history. It can get really confusing. But yeah, we've had companions in the past. To put it simply, we've had companions in the past which have taken over the show essentially, and they've become the main focus. And I don't think he was the main focus. He was a focus. I don't think anybody's the main focus. Not even the Doctor is really the main focus, and I'm okay with that because, like I said, they're going for the more approachable thing of having them be friends. So obviously, like I said, we started off with Ryan, and we later find out that he has dyspraxia, which, as far as I know, I could be wrong. Please feel free to correct me in the comment section. But dyspraxia is actually I'm not sure is like he can't coordinate properly. He can't like so for example when at the start of the episode he was trying to ride a bike and he couldn't do that. And that was honestly really sad to see. I know I personally can't ride a bike, but that's not for the same reason that's not for the same reason, but it's like it makes you feel bad for him in a way. Not because nobody deserves to live with like stuff things like that, and it gives him honestly not more of a likable factor, more it gives you a reason to care about him more because you want him to be okay in the end. Obviously he then leads on to end up throwing not a temper tantrum. He gets upset because he can't ride his bike and he ends up throwing it over the edge, which then actually leads into the main alien encounter in the episode, which we later find out was actually Tim Shaw. And that was a brilliant name. When they introduced Tim Shaw to the episode to the Doctor, that was a brilliant scene. But um, he Ryan ends up finding Tim Shaw's transport pod, and without knowing it, he gives Tim Shaw access to hunt on Earth. And basically, what Tim Shaw's goal was is he was randomly given a human to hunt, and without any aid, without any weapons, he had to find and bring this human back to his own world, and he would then become leader of his race. And he ends up actually cheating. And I'll get into Tim Shaw now because I'm actually talking about him. But he ends up cheating, and he uses this like the easiest way to actually explain it is a hard drive, an alien type hard drive, which actually tracked down where the human was. So all he had to do was download the information and then take the human, and take the human back to his home world. So that's cheating, and obviously that was pointed out. And one of my favorite parts of the episode was when, like I said, when Doctor confronts Tim Shaw on top of the building after they'd actually um, put the information they needed. after he got the information they needed, and they put some information in there. We actually later find out because up to that point, Tim Shaw had actually implanted genetic bombs inside of their necks, so it was kind of like a security tool, so that they make sure that he has control at all times. But the Doctor actually outsmarted him and not defused the bombs. She didn't want better. She actually put the bombs inside of this creature. So when Tim Shaw downloaded the information from the creature, he got all of the bombs at the same time. Because the transference of energy of information wasn't just like he got information from it; it was physical too. So that then allowed him to transfer the bombs into him without knowing it. And then obviously, like I said, that was one of my favorite parts of the episode when the Doctor asks him what his name is, and she's like, "You're Tim Shaw." And he's like, "No, I'm not. That's not how you say my name." It's like Tim Shaw, Tim Shaw. That was really funny to me. And obviously, she points out that he cheated, and so Tim Shaw's a cheat. And then when he teleports away, she's like, "Oh, double cheat." She's one of my favorite parts of Jodie Whittaker's Doctor. Is she's fun. It's refreshing after having Peter Capaldi, even though I liked Peter Capaldi. Don't get me wrong, he was a very dark twist in the Doctor, and a lot of people realize that, and that's one of the reasons why a lot of people stopped watching the show. It kind of alienated them because the Doctor has always had a darker tone to him, but he's always been fun at the same time. So that's what gave him the likability factor. And now, obviously, the Doctor has regenerated into Jodie Whittaker now, and she is honestly so much fun. Um, just when she's talking to Graham and his wife, she's like, "I'm still cooking. Every cell in my body is burning, but I'll be fine, or at least I hope I will be." I I don't know how to explain it. She's just fun. That's the easiest way to explain it. She's not. She doesn't over. She perfectly falls. Excuse the pun. She literally falls into the role perfectly, which is one of the things I like. Even though this is a regeneration story, and they, to start off with, they kind of drop the whole thing where when the Doctor regenerates, they're all out of whack, and they're still cooking, and that was later on picked up in the episode because we get the thing. The Doctor, every single regeneration, the Doctor finds something about their body that they don't like. So obviously, Matt Smith had the hair. He thought he was a girl at the start off with. Then we had Peter Capaldi who didn't like his kidneys. He didn't like the color of his kidneys. And now Jodie Whittaker's Doctor, she doesn't like the color of her, not the color of her nose. She doesn't like her nose. So I don't. It was weird, but it was funny at the same time. And obviously, she's like, "I'm going to pass out in 2 minutes 19 seconds." I actually forgot the 2 minutes 19 seconds, and she just passes out. That was brilliant. And obviously, she's the new way of showing the Doctor still cooking regeneration. It was just like the subtle glow in the background whilst she was sleeping. Obviously, she woke up too soon, and I'm so glad they continued this on. But obviously, in the Christmas Invasion episode with David Tennant, which was his first episode, what he needed to stabilize his body was coffee, and throughout the episode, she's constantly referencing that she needs a cup, and I thought that I liked that they continued that. It showed a bit of continuity between the Doctors. I like that, and this episode, they focus on honoring the past while becoming who you want to be. She directly references that. It's like every time I regenerate, I have a core to who I should be, but I also want to honor who I used to be at the same time. And I thought that was the perfect way of introducing a new Doctor without alienating the people who also like the old Doctor. Because people, obviously, there's been 11 faces that people are going to have their favorite, but I thought that was the nicest way they could introduce the new Doctor and have her feel like the Doctor and like, they did it in a more visual way with Matt Smith. They had him walk through David Tennant's image and say, "Hello, I'm the Doctor." Whereas this was a lot more subtle. She's literally saying, "Oh, I need to honor who I used to be," and she doesn't know who she is at this point. Like she said, she's got a calling of who she wants to be, and she has to balance all of these new like feelings, emotions, stuff like that. And I love that aspect of the episode. And then when we eventually lead on to where she remembers who she finally is, that was perfectly shot. And I'm just to say, this is the best this show has ever looked. And that is because Chris Chibnall, the showrunner, actually said that they need to compete with the Netflix show's quality of how they look. So there's series like Lost in Space on Netflix, and his goal was to compete with shows on Netflix so they look as good. And I have to say, this is the best the show has ever looked, and I will admit that could alienate some people who used to watch a classic series because of the fact that Some people like the fact that Doctor Who was a bit tacky at times. They thought it gave it charm. But as a person who has actually grown up watching Doctor Who in the modern era, I feel that I like that it looks good. I want it to look good, and it really did look good. And they've actually switched. I believe they've switched to widescreen camera filming as well. Like widescreen cameras. I'm not exactly sure the specific technical details of what they're called, but they switched to like a wider camera frame to film with, and you can tell it looks really cinematic now, and I love the way it looks. Um, Moving on to the other companions, we have Yasmin. Um, Obviously I've spoke about Ryan. He's actually one of my favorite friend or companion right now. We have Graham. So Graham is the person who at first didn't believe that aliens could possibly land at Sheffield, and he was proven wrong. And it's funny watching him just communicate with the Doctor, and like he doesn't want to believe that she's alien, but he knows deep down that she is at the same time. And one of my one of my favorite scenes is well, it's a sad scene too, but it comes towards the end of the episode where we actually see they've defeated Tim Shaw, and they're at the funeral for Ryan's grandma because she died sacrificing herself. Tim Shaw's hard drive thing was trying to destroy the crane that the Doctor was trying to get this guy that Tim Shaw was hunting off of, and she sacrificed herself. She fell off the crane, and this scene was like remembering her. And one of my favorite lines from that funeral was like, Graham was saying, "You have three brilliant years. Why are you sad?" And I thought that was a nice way to sum it up. Because yeah, yes, the person's gone and it's sad, but you have all of the good times with them that you can remember. That's one of the things that I liked about it. And then that was further cemented by what the Doctor then went on to say after the funeral, because she said that she was asked by Yasmin, does she have any family? And I honestly like the fact that she said, I lost my family, but they're still with me. You carry your family with you, even after death, they're always with you. And that is something I believe, and that is something that I really liked about the episode too. So yeah, that was another positive coming out of the episode. Moving on to Tim Shaw's design. Like I said, the show's is the best the show's ever looked, and the villain proves that. His design was disgusting, but it was brilliant at the same time. Basically, what he does is every time he gets a new victim, he takes a tooth from them and puts it in his face, basically, and he has a face made of teeth. And it was disgusting, like I said, but it looked really good. Then the CGI budget, I don't know if I mentioned this yet, but the new visual team who are working on Doctor Who actually worked on Blade Runner 2046. Just think about that. The people who worked on a big Hollywood movie are now working on Doctor Who. I'm so happy to say that, and that gives me so much confidence for what things are going to look like in the future, especially if they stick around and this continues, because overnight viewing figures of The Woman Who Fell to Earth were in 8.2 million people watched it live and overnight, and obviously that figure will go up as time goes on because people will watch it on demand. So I will take a guess that the final viewing figures will be somewhere in the 9 millions, and that is the highest the show has ever been viewed since the David Tennant era, I believe. Because Matt Smith was in the 7 millions, I want to say, when he was in control. But this is the highest viewing figures we've had for Doctor Who since, I think, 2010 or 2009, 2010. And the most Doctor Who's ever been viewed was actually Voyage of the Damned, which was a Christmas special that got 10 million views. So if we can get 1.8 million more views on The Woman Who Fell to Earth over time, that's plausible, but I doubt it. Like I said, I'd say it'd rest finally at in the 9 million range. But it would be amazing if we could actually break the Voyage of the Damned's set record, because no episode has come close to what that episode had in viewing figures. So I'd honestly love to see it break that, because it would prove all of the people who said that Jodie Whittaker was going to kill the show wrong, because actually she got the most viewing figures out of the last two Doctors. So obviously Matt Smith had 7 million, and Peter Capaldi, when he finished his run, he had around 6 to 5 million viewers, and Jodie has 8 million viewers. Please tell me how she killed the show. I'd like to know that, but people are entitled to their opinion, but I can't see how she's killed the show. She's really revitalized it. I've spoken to a lot of people about this, and uh, person each new person is introduced a lot of new people, and that's a good thing. I want to see more people watching the show because it is a really good show, and it's expanding, and this is a really nice thing to see. Um, and like I said, it doesn't alienate people who used to watch the show, and I think it's actually brought back some people who used to watch the show as well, which is a good thing. And honestly, this is the best community for Doctor Who has ever been since for a very long time. So I think it used to be very fragmented to people, especially with season 10 or season 9. People either loved it or hated it, and the general consensus I'm getting from episode 1 at least, obviously we haven't had the entirety of the series, but from episode 1, the general consensus is that people really like the reports are coming out saying that Jodie Whittaker is a hit with the fans, and I can also agree with that. She nailed the role. She is her own role, but she does have some elements of the other Doctors, which is what I like. Each Doctor has their own personality, but they do have elements of the old Doctors mixed in because see, they still are the same person, just they've changed their face, so they would still have personality features of all of the other Doctors, and that is something I like that she continued on with. Um, the ending of the episode I thought was really nice as well. I'll talk about the cliffhanger in a second, but the ending of the episode where we see Ryan back up on the hill, he's trying to ride his bike, and that was a really nice moment to see that he was honoring, because his grandmother really, really wanted him to be able to ride the bike, and she was one who was supporting him through it. And to see him go back up there after her death, and actually try and ride the bike, and even though he didn't do it, it was a nice scene to watch. And he ends off his ending part of the episode was actually him talking about his grandma, one of the strongest British women he knew, and that was really sweet and really heartwarming as well. And then it led into the cliffhanger because obviously the Doctor was going back to try and find the TARDIS, which had replaced itself onto another Earth. And I won't get into my thoughts on that because TARDIS used to locate when it was in danger. It used to relocate to the nearest body of Earth, so technically that should have been Earth, but I'm okay with them changing that so they could have it set on another planet because I want to see what this new visual team can do with other planet settings because a lot of Peter Capaldi's run was actually Earthbound, and that I can see why you want to get rid of the relatability factor, but I want to see other planets. I want to see how, especially with this new series, I want to see how good they can make the other planets and other worlds look with this new visual design team. I'm so really excited to see that. And the episode obviously ends off with them being teleported into space. Jodie obviously didn't realize that she was actually going to, the companions or the friends were actually going to come with her. She thought she was going on her own, and they actually end up in space. And we have no clue how they're going to get to the new planet, and it just ends there. And now I think this is the perfect time actually to talk about the new theme, which honestly honors the classic series but puts a modern twist on it, and I really do like it. It's Seiken Akonona has done a brilliant job with the new themes because you got with Jodie especially you get the when she's on screen you get distant traveler vibes from her. She's not quite fitting in with society. It's all there and it's really subtle. Whereas with Marigold's themes they were very bombastic, and I did like a lot of his songs. They were good to listen to out the show, but sometimes they did overpower the scenes. And I feel Saving Akonola's scores actually they complement the scenes really well. And it really goes well with the episode. So overall, I would give The Woman Who Fell to Earth a 9.5 out of 10. Although I would consider giving it a 10 out of 10 because there are more. I can't think of any negatives coming out of the episode. The characters were great. The story was great. It looks amazing. Jodie Whittaker fed into the role perfectly. Excuse the pun. And I can't find any flaws. Obviously, there could be flaws going forward in the series, but it's a really strong start for the show, and it shows the fact that it's got 8.2 million viewers. The general consensus is that she's a hit with most people, and it's proved all of the people who said that a female couldn't play the Doctor wrong, and that makes me happy too. So yeah, please, please comment your opinions on the episode down in the comment section below. I would love to see what you guys thought of the episode, and maybe have a conversation about it down in the comment section. And if you enjoyed this video, please do hit that like button. Your support is very much appreciated, and subscribe if you're new. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.